What is up, Waffle Gang? My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/Am I the Butthole? If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And yesterday we did have a new member over on Patreon, and it was super nice, a super nice message as well, and I'm very thankful. It's just amazing. So I would like to welcome Rice Race M. They did tell me how to pronounce their name. I probably still butchered it, but thank you so much for your support and for everyone for taking the time out of your days to be here. And I received an email the other day from another member. I won't announce their name because I didn't confirm if they'd like it announced or not, and they've noticed another member on our channel, and they said, I watch your videos almost every day, and I noticed there is a user, Broken Queer But Fighting, who leaves lovely encouraging comments on every video. I wanted to know if there was any way I could buy a channel membership in their honor. And long story short, I said I would try and put you two in touch if you're interested, of course, Broken. So fire me an email if you are interested, Broken, and we will sort this out. And with that being said, what a lovely way to start the video, right? Let's get started. Much love, guys. So our first story is from Barely Dad. Am I the arsehole for telling my daughter the truth about why I wasn't in her life? To start, my ex and I were 19 when she got pregnant. We had recently broken up, and she found out a couple of weeks later that she was pregnant. She said she planned to get an abortion but only wanted her sister there. So I was always under the belief that she had aborted. She only contacted me saying it was done, and we didn't speak again. Fast forward 19 years later, I found out a month ago that was a lie. My ex passed away 3 years ago, and my daughter Cara has been living with her uncle. He was the one to reach out to give me a heads up after she expressed an interest in wanting us to connect. He and I spoke at length because I was feeling some pretty strong emotions, like rage for never being told about her. My ex had backed out of the abortion but didn't want me involved because we were broken up, so decided just not to tell me. But he told me that Cara doesn't know about that. Apparently, I wasn't ready for fatherhood because we were both young, so I bailed. I couldn't believe it. Rob, her uncle, told me he knows his sister was wrong for that, but promised Cara doesn't have any negative feelings towards me, and my ex never painted me as some villain, just a young guy who knew he couldn't properly care for her. He asked me not to tell Cara this when we talk if she asks, because it would hurt the way she saw her mum. I never actually confirmed I would. Cara messaged me and we've been talking. I've met her twice and it's been crazy emotional. Looking at this girl who looks just like me and hurting that we're just barely getting to know each other. So far our conversations have only been about what her life was like, how my life is, what her wants and future goals are, and getting to know each other. We met again Tuesday and she finally decided to ask the obvious questions about what made me not be involved. How did I feel? What went through my mind? Did I ever think about her, etc.? I'd been thinking about what to do, but in that moment I just didn't have it into me to lie, so I was honest. That I was told about the abortion, had no idea she existed until now, but I still really want to be in her life and have a chance to be her father if she wants that. Cara was a bit emotional. We talked some more and said she still wants me involved. That night, my messages were blowing up, not just from Rob but her grandparents as well. They're all outraged for telling Cara about her mum because she yelled at all of them and is refusing to even take their calls. Yes, the lie was terrible, but I just ruined the image she had of her late mother for my own benefit. Rob called me a selfish dick for not taking into consideration how this would affect Cara finding out about this. So right now I feel like shit. I get honesty is the best policy, but in this case, I don't know if I was an arsehole for doing it. I'm still learning this whole dad business, so don't know if I dropped the ball here. Damn, this is a tough one, and I'm sorry that the mum died in this story. It must be incredibly tough for the way things are now, and super tough for the dad and daughter to find out all this information now and go through it and process all these feelings. But I'm afraid, well, I'm not afraid, you're not the arsehole in this situation. The mum is the major arsehole in this. She's the one who lied all along, created this whole mess, and yeah, this is down to her in the end. And out of respect for your daughter as well, she needs to know the truth. She's an adult now, so she absolutely deserves to know the truth. But I can't imagine what the daughter would be feeling at this moment in time. Not only having to process her father being in her life now and, learning about him, but also having to relearn everything. Like all those 19 years of her mother raising her and questioning her being raised by her must be absolutely insane. But AMS Love says, not the arsehole, your ex lied. Your ex created this mess. I'm sorry she has passed, but she did this. You have no obligation to continue a lie you had no part of. Your daughter deserved the truth. And Gruntled Organizer says, you said fast forward 19 years later, so your daughter is 19 now. She's an adult and deserves to know the truth. You should not be expected to make yourself out to be a deadbeat dad just to avoid tainting the memory of her mother. Not the arsehole. And Reverend says, not the arsehole, the people who lied to her for her entire life are to blame for her being upset at the lies. You are not obligated to take the heat for the lies of others. I do hope you're planning on staying in her life now. It would be shitty to drop that info and disappear, but if you stick around, she deserves to know the truth so that your newly found connection isn't built on a lie from the start. And Curious Nature Junk says, not the arsehole, how terrible for both you and your daughter. You didn't ruin the image of her mum. You told her the truth. Her mum decided not to abort her and must have loved her immensely. As for the whole family cover-up, she has every right to be mad. She missed out on 19 years with you because of it. I have to ask though, is there a reason why mum didn't want you in daughter's life then? Was it a bad breakup? It seems like something is missing here. And Flooper Duper says, not the arsehole, not to speak ill of the dead, but Kara's mother did this to herself. It was unfair to both you and Kara to keep you apart all these years, and doubly unfair to expect you to maintain a lie. Will it be painful for Kara to process this and reconcile the truth with her own image of her mother and family? Absolutely. However, the truth is the truth. I hope you and Kara continue to build a strong bond. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And over on Twitter yesterday, we had a request from Rebecca saying, hey Mark, been a long time subscriber. I'm wondering if you could read this story. The comments are really mixed and it would be interesting hearing your judgment. Oh dear. So let's get involved. And this story is from TA Constellation. Am I the arsehole for refusing to honour my wife's deceased best friend in our daughter's name? Throw away for obvious reasons. In January 2020, my wife's best friend died. It was shocking and her death has left a hole in all our hearts. It hit my wife really hard and she is still working through it in therapy. A decision I support wholeheartedly. I have been as supportive as possible and have taken on the vast majority of childcare in the past year in order to give her a bit of a breather when she comes home from work, in sickness and in health, right? My wife got pregnant with our third child and third daughter. Our first, 4 and second daughter's 18 months name was our dream name and had a lot of sentimental value to us. I don't want to say the exact names, but it feels important to express the vibe of the name, so think Alessandra Eve and Elodie Blair. Don't know if I pronounced those right. Elegant, uncommon but not unique, and easy to spell. I am very into names, so naming my children and even pets is something I take seriously and actively enjoy. I stress that both myself and my wife were equal in naming our daughters, and by no stretch of the imagination were either one of us left out. My wife, while also into names, is less so than me. Her best friend was a self-claimed hippie and big into astrology. Around the time we were naming our daughters, wife talked to her friend about names, who always said there was only one name that she wanted to name her future daughter, Constellation Vi. Again, I don't know if I got it right. My wife now is intent on naming our daughter this name as a way to honour her friend and carry on her legacy. Constellation sticks out like a sore thumb. Vi I can work with, as both Vivian and Violet were on our list both times, and Vi can be a nickname for either of those. My wife maintains that we already have used up all girls' names sentimental to us, so we can honour her friend. Besides, she wants to primarily use the nickname Stella, with Constellation as the legal name, as it fits well enough with our other daughters. I disagree, and even if it did, I am very against naming the child that you can never call them, as it causes way too much confusion. The last straw for me was she told 4-year-old behind my back that baby's name is Constellation. I only found out when I was putting her to bed, and Alessandra said, "Daddy, are you looking forward to meeting Constellation? Mummy said she's going to be beautiful like Auntie." Her name's funny though. I was fuming as I don't like my kid being used as a tool against me, and also cemented that a child can't pronounce the name and finds it funny, which I believe is crucial for if you want your child to survive school. I confronted my wife and she got defensive and we fought. I think I may be the arsehole as I responded that she doesn't have our future daughter's best interests at heart by landing her with a stupid name, and if she doesn't cooperate with finding a more suitable name, I will come up with one from the list we both like from when we had our daughters and register it while she is still immobile from the C-section. I hate that it's come to this, but a bad name can really set you back in life, and it's a hill I'm prepared to die on. Am I the arsehole? You know, these name ones are always tough, because in an ideal world where people didn't pick on each other because of their names, and I know it's stupid, we would name each other whatever we wanted to name, you know, and there would be no issues and everyone would be happy. But unfortunately, we're not in an ideal world. And you're going to say, Mark, but we can't back down. We can't back down to these people. But I always say back, do you want to throw your child into that situation? Sure, if you want to name yourself that in the end, go for it. But do you want to throw your child into that situation? I don't think I could personally do that myself. And although I would never name, I don't think I'd ever name my child Constellation or something like that, but it's not the worst name we've seen on here yet. In these stories, it's not the worst name. But I think always good, proper sit-down discussions regarding names is always the best way forward, you know. And I was pretty much, I think I was with OP most of the way through. I mean, they sounded like they was willing to discuss things. But then you were 100% the arsehole when you said you're landing your child with a stupid name. And then you said you will register the birth while she's immobile from the C-section. That is a major arsehole move, man. Really bad, in my opinion. And there's so many additional options you could come up with to do with, you know, constellations and things like that. There's so many beautiful names you could actually come up with. So just sitting down and discussing this could, you know, be really valuable in the end. But Blackberry Beetle says, everyone sucks here. I was with you until you said that you'd go behind her back and write a name that you thought of while your wife recovers. In a way, that's just as scummy as telling her your daughter the name she wants is the name of the baby. With baby names, it's 2 yes and 1 no. Your wife needs to let this name go and think of a different one. Maybe you guys can compromise with a Constance, since it kind of sounds like Constellation. Your daughter was basically an example of how your unborn child peers will treat her and her name. Your wife needs to see that. However, don't threaten your wife that you'll choose a name for yourself. You both need to think of a name you both like. And Beast of Ark says, everyone sucks here. Her for being unreasonable and you for threatening to use her condition against her. Sit down and have a civilized conversation. You say she was a hippie and into astrology. Good God, you have so many options to figure out a decent name. How about choosing a name of a constellation? You can search about stars, planets, the signs in both your culture and other ones and find something you both like. That would be a nice tribute to her friend, and also the kid wouldn't get mocked for being called Constellation. And Sour Notes Rock Hard Abs says, in quotes, we'll come up with one of the lists we both like from when we had our daughters and register it while she's still immobile from the C-section, and then says, holy shit dude, that is not the proper response. Those are divorce-worthy statements. Now, there was a little update on this one, so we will read that now, which says, update, apologize to wife for my comments. I can see that I was totally in the wrong. I went through on why Constellation Vi was a bad name, and she agreed that it was best for both parents to be 100% on board, but is still keen to have a name that sums up her friend. We are reading through your suggestions like Celeste, Estelle, and Vivian. Thank you guys for your comments. And it sounds like that they did come to some sort of compromise in the end, and let's hope they do continue down that route rather than argue about it, because otherwise that's just not going to end well, is it? Anyway, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Steel Snapdragon. Am I the arsehole for screaming at my mother's friend in front of company after our kids ruined my work? Okay, so to jump right into it, last weekend my mother had book club with her friends. One of them is a single mother with 2 kids who I usually babysit. I was very clear in advance to my mother and to her that I couldn't babysit this time because I was working over the weekend. Despite this, the day rolls around and mother brings her kids upstairs for me to watch. I tell her again I couldn't as I'm working on a commission, mixing 12 custom pastel gouache paints for a difficult and impatient client wanting a custom painting for their baby shower. She abides, only as the afternoon goes on the kids come into my space more and more often. I shoot them down and confront the mum downstairs. She's drunk and callous to me. While I was distracted, her kids disappear and I go upstairs to a disaster zone. The kids ran back upstairs and managed to fling my custom mixed paints everywhere, finger painting my walls on several sheets of thick, expensive paper I was planning to use for the job. It was days of work and corresponding with the client gone down the drain in minutes. I scream in horror and the kids freeze. I grab them and storm downstairs to find their mother alone in the kitchen, filling her wine glass. She looks shocked, but has the gall to chastise me for letting her kids get covered in paint. Here is where I may be the butthole as I rip into her, nuclear style, getting more incensed with every stupid excuse rolling out of her drunk mouth. She tries to quiet me and takes the kids with an insincere apology. I could just make more paint, right? As she goes past me and outside with the kids, I can hear the other guests gasp. She immediately blames me, and wow, I almost blacked out as I was so furious. I stormed outside in front of everyone and I explode. About how she is a selfish drunk who might have just cost me a client, how she has no regard for others or even her children. I was so mad no one could get a word in edgeways, and I scream at her for almost 3 minutes straight with increasingly less kind words before I spin on my heel and storm off to clean up the mess awaiting me, leaving them all gaping like goldfish. Afterwards, she was playing the pity me card, and some of the other guests who took her side blamed me for ruining their day and for screaming in front of the kids. Even my mother sided with her and said she was incredibly embarrassed by me. I agree that there was definitely a better way of handling what happened, but I refused to back down, especially after they being screamed at by my client who has now gone elsewhere with their commission. But tell me, Reddit, am I the arsehole? Edit, just for your information, no, I don't have a lock on my door. It's a house rule, and I never swore or cursed in front of the kids. You know, we could go down the route of an everyone sucks here just for the way you reacted and the way that you were screaming and shouting and stuff like that, and there is a better way of dealing with it, but not in this situation, I'm afraid. You know, days worth of artwork ruined, your paint's flung everywhere, expensive paper ruined too, and then this person has just the audacity to stand there and pretty much mock you for it. They deserve everything they got, and their attitude, even while you're cussing them out, just screams really of what they're actually like, doesn't it? So absolutely not the arsehole in my opinion in this situation. But let's read some of the comments to see what they say. Temporary Owl says, not the arsehole, and she needs to compensate you for the work you lost since it was her fault you had to deal with her kids. Either that or press charges for destruction of property. She should have found a different babysitter if she was planning on drinking, and sounds like she drove with the kids. Definitely not the arsehole. And Even Speech says, not the arsehole, that was your work. All these people saying everyone sucks here seem to not take your work seriously. All those supplies are not cheap, and a lot of time and effort goes into each creation, and our kids may have destroyed hours or days of work you had done. The cost of recouping that work may be far more than the job might pay. The mother was irresponsible and rude. The people who thought you were overreacting should ask themselves if they would be okay with the kids running loose in a doctor's office, banging on the computers and messing up patients' charts, or running into a staff member carrying blood or biospecimens from a patient and ruining that. I don't want to hear how a doctor's office is protected space. That should be off limits to kids running rampant. Your workspace should be just as inviolate when you are working. You are so not the arsehole, OP, and I'm sorry that your work got destroyed. I would have gone nuclear too. The good thing out of this is that you'll never likely have to watch those kids again, and the other members of your mother's book club won't think you're easy to push around either. And Seabiscuit says, not the arsehole, not only did you tell her in advance, but you told her multiple times during the book club. She should compensate you for your lost supplies, and she totally owes you an apology. And for the lost commission as well. Now, what do you guys think of this situation? Do you think OP was right to explode the way they did, or did they go too far? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from Pasta on My Laptop. Am I the arsehole for not letting my matron of honor hold her baby during my wedding ceremony? I, 21 female, am getting married at the end of July 2021. My sister, 29 female, is my matron of honor, and she is currently pregnant with her 4th child. Her due date is a few weeks before my wedding, and I could not be more excited to meet my new nephew. However, she's been making some comments that are a bit worrying to me. She's repeatedly told me that she is going to hold her new baby as she walks down the aisle, regardless of my thoughts, despite the fact that her husband will be at the wedding and able to hold the baby. She plans to hold her baby during the ceremony, even feed him if she needs to. This is not a long Catholic wedding ceremony, just a regular old cutesy outdoor wedding, probably 20 minutes long. I told her she should feel welcome to have her new little baby with her during the day while we're getting ready, but when it comes to walking down the aisle, I would not like her to be holding the baby. The baby could cry, poop, need to eat, etc, etc. She has insisted that she will be holding her baby during the wedding, otherwise she will not be in the wedding. In addition to the baby holding dilemma, she has jokingly told me that she would call me a bad aunt in her wedding speech, or she would get her other kids to object in the middle of my wedding. I think she's trying to be funny, but all these comments are frustrating and hurting my feelings. Am I the arsehole for telling my sister she can't hold her baby during my wedding? Now, I might be totally wrong going down this path, so forgive me if I'm wrong, please. But it feels like sister is wanting to hold the baby to, if I'm right here, to basically show it off, like show off the baby. Look at me, everybody, walking down, holding a brand new baby, and it'll probably be dressed in a little suit and all this kind of thing. If you can get suits that size. I have to Google that. And yeah, just not the arsehole in this story. You know, this is your day. I don't blame you for wanting the attention all about yourself. It's your wedding and you don't want the baby stealing this show, you know, because let's face it, someone carrying a little newborn baby is absolutely going to get a lot of looks compared to you if you're walking down pretty much at the same time or she's trailing behind you. I don't know quite how it works. But yes, the baby will get a ton of attention, let's face this. So I'd maybe call her out on this if I was you and say if she doesn't want to come, well, that's your choice. See ya. But Trex1322 says, not the arsehole. You should probably remove her from the wedding party, if not the whole wedding, because it sounds like she plans to make your day about her in one way or another. And Frequent Stranger says, not the arsehole. Tell her you accept the resignation of Maid of Honor. Matron of Honor even. And Copsaloo says, not the arsehole. You may have to drop her from the wedding party if she's not willing to respect your day. In fact, her entire family may find themselves off the guest list with their threats. This isn't a party for her kids, it's a party for you, and she needs to get over herself. She is so self-centered. And RB1327 says, not the arsehole, but why is this still a discussion? You said no baby down the aisle. She said no baby, no attendance. At this point, just choose. And your little birdie says, not the arsehole, her behaviour is very weird. If I were you, I'd take a tack of sympathetic nice. Oh, I totally understand if you need to just be with the guests instead of in the ceremony because you need to hold and feed your baby. Like it's obvious that of course she can't hold the baby while walking down the aisle. When she says things about jokingly calling you a bad aunt or having children object, I would just react with a total stone face that shows it is even not a little bit funny. And Anonymouse says, not the arsehole. If her husband is there, he can hold the baby for 20 minutes. It's not even her first kid. By saying that she would have her kids object to your marriage, please let's hope she is actually joking. It sounds like she really doesn't care about your wedding being a special day for you. You should try sitting her down again and tell her how you feel about her jokes and explain why it would mean a lot for her not to carry the baby down the aisle. If she can't meet your reasonable expectations, you might want to consider kicking her out of your wedding party, not letting her make a speech. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What would you do in this situation? Let me know in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to a story or two. It means the absolute world to me, and you just being involved, coming over to Twitter. So many people on Twitter just recently. Come over there, get involved. It's a great time over there, let me tell you. And for the new members on YouTube and Patreon, which you can join up by clicking that join button down below or the link in the description for Patreon, means the absolute world to me and makes a massive change to the channel. I cannot express that enough. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys, and let's have another spicy outro music, shall we? Hit it.
Cold pizza Tuesday. I got food up in the fridge. Y'all keep looking for that new wave. I think I like it how it is.